Welcome to the lineup, Officer Magazine's roundup of this week's police and law enforcement news. I'm your host, Joe Vince, assistant editor for Officer Magazine. And with me today this week, my co-host, retired Lieutenant Frank Borelli. How you doing, Frank?
I'm feeding my face, as everybody watching this on YouTube can see, or wherever else they see it. Other than that, I'm just eager for the holiday tomorrow. 4th of July, Independence Day, 249th birthday of the United States. Perfect excuse for people to enjoy sunshine and boating and barbecuing. And unfortunately, every cop working the street will get at least one call for somebody too
Yeah.
drunk at a family cookout.
Yeah. You know what? I did, it was a firefighting ride along during the July 4th weekend. And that is not fun on the calls that they had to go on. So
So it's
we're
a joke, but not. Remember, today is the last day somebody in the United States is going to have all 10 fingers.
There you go. And we're recording this July 3rd, so kind of getting a head start on the holiday weekend. Wanted to do something a little special. It's July 4th, but it's also the halfway point in the year, and we wanted to look back on so far this year some of the um, displays of valor by law enforcement officers. I could say the last couple of years we've kind of done this at the end of the year. Figured let's kind of see it halfway here, halfway in this year, and look at some of these great displays of courage, bravery, and in a lot of cases compassion. And as always, got a packed show, so let's get started. Our first story out of Florida. And again, from earlier this year, an incredible display of athleticism and I'm going to say just a teeny bit of craziness to for this Sarasota police officer to make a dramatic stop of an out of control boat by jumping onto it. The Sarasota's Marine unit was called in after the operator had lost control of the his vessel, and it started doing circles in the water. We've talked again and again about depending on the community that you're serving, the skills that you have to have differ and vary, and this is a prime example of that.
So this is something straight out of Miami Vice. Um,
Exactly.
you know, this isn't jumping on to an unmanned, out of control boat. Isn't something you usually see or hear about in your. I'm in the police academy, and this might be your job one day. Maybe they do in Florida. I'm not sure, but this boat, the boater falls overboard. You got a boat going in circles at almost 40 miles an hour. Now, thankfully, they were able to slow it down. I'm going to have to do some research because I don't know what a plasma tow line is, but
Yeah.
a boat towing company deployed one to slow down the vessel speed. And then you have some lieutenant, mind you, I'm a retired lieutenant, who's intelligent enough, if that's what you want to call it, to jump from one moving boat to another moving boat to get it under control. Kudos to the guy. Definitely a heroic action, not something that I would want to try out. But yeah, I mean, maybe it is something they teach in the Florida Academy, not here in Maryland.
And you know what? Definitely something good to tell the grandkids later on.
Right?
Moving on to our next story. This is out of Arizona. Um, uh, just an incredible dramatic rescue by a Goodyear police officer, Dakota Berry, who arrived at the scene, one of the first responders at the scene of a crash where multi-vehicle crash where one of the vehicles burst into flames. He quickly just jumped into action and was able to smash the window to pull a woman out of there. This woman happened to be the daughter of a firefighter. And it just it goes to show you to just again the different types of skills. Officer Barry here ended up receiving suffering major burns from this, and yet still braved these flames to rescue this woman.
Yeah, I'm love this story for one reason. Well, for several reasons. Several reasons. I'm glad they saved the woman. Definitely heroic, running up on a burning vehicle, grabbing her by her ankles and pulling her out. I love everything about it. but you know me. I used to be a volunteer fireman. We have Endeavor, the company that owns Officer, owns Firehouse, Firehouse.com. Our editorial director over there, Peter Matthews, full-time, long-time firefighter. I love giving firefighters grief. It's kind of a requirement as a police officer, and they have to give it back. But here is this Goodyear police officer, Dakota Berry, for the rest of his career, can legitimately say he's the hero of a firefighter. Because I guarantee you, this young lady's father, the firefighter, is forever going to have Dakota Berry as his hero. So you know, I say a lot in jest. I tip my hat to every firefighter. Like I said, I did it for 11 years. You couldn't pay. I wouldn't want to run into a burning building now. I certainly wasn't going to keep doing it then. I guess I would do it if I had to. But everybody jokes about who's the police officers have to have heroes, so there's firefighters. Firefighters have to have heroes, so they're police officers. In this case, guarantee you, Dakota Berry, Officer Dakota Berry, is this firefighter's hero. Kudos for saving this woman's life, pulling her out of a burning vehicle. I love to see it when public safety in general is supporting and helping public safety, and in this case, family help family, and I really love to see it.
And you know, you're talking about him being that family's hero at the time too. When asked about this, he's just doing my job, and
Yeah,
that, you know, you hear that all the
completely
time.
humble about it. Hey, I'm just doing my job.
Moving on to our next story, and we're kind of keeping with the firefighting theme, so to speak, the fire rescue themes. This is out of Pennsylvania, where two Johnstown police officers were on patrol and had seen smoke coming from a home. They immediately responded and kicked down the door and were able to save a woman who was still inside of the burning house. Again, a lot of times, because like in this case, officers are on patrol, or they're they're easily in the area to be the first people at the scene of fires, and in a lot of cases, they're the first people trying to make sure, hey, is anyone inside? Do we need to get rescue going, what have you? And this is a great example of that.
It is. So I really wanted to talk about this. Number one, because yeah, absolutely, you kick open a door and you save a life. Again, we cross the lines, right? Public safety is public safety. Sometimes cops are saving people from burning buildings, and sometimes firefighters are saving cops from burning cars, whatever. I mean, we all help each other. As a once volunteer firefighter, and having been through some of the minimal levels of training, I want to remind these police officers, while we're busy doing this heroic stuff, if you don't know what it means to come up on a house fire and see that the fire is breathing, if you don't know what that means, you might not want to kick open the door. This thing called flashover, if there's smoke going in, coming out, underneath of a door, out of a window, smoke coming out, and then it's going back in, and it's coming out, and then it's going back in. If you don't know what that is, you might not want to kick open a door, break open a window, so on and so forth. Go to your local firehouse and ask them what it is. Not being critical of these officers, they did a great job. Kick open a door, save a life. However, there is always the chance that when they kicked open that door, they would have fed a whole lot of oxygen to the fire, and it would have explosively grown. And that's what we need to avoid. We need to get educated if we're going to do these kinds of things, and we do them. And these, again, another story we're talking about it, right? If we're going to do these things, we need to get educated about what the risks are. And there's a product out there now that really surprises me called Suppressol. It's a box you can throw into a building. You pull a pin I hate to say like a grenade, but you pull a pin, you throw it into the room, and it releases a vapor that sucks all the oxygen out of the fire and puts fire out. It's something that a lot of police officers might want to look at having in their cars. Again, it's called Suppressol. You're going to throw something through a window to put out a fire. That might be the thing to do before you go running into the burning building. It's just a thought, but kudos to these officers.
Wow, that really interesting. Good stuff there. Moving on to our next story, and this is out of Michigan. I had said at the top of the show about displays of compassion, and this is kind of the first of some of the stories that spot like that. Warren police officers responded to a man who looked to be jumping over an overpass, and body camera footage captured this. And just listening to one of the officers talk to this individual, you know, trying to get him to be able to step back and then get help. You know, he said, "We can figure this out together. All right, we've all been through something." Um, that's got to be a harrowing situation for an officer where you're having to you probably physically want to jump and restrain the person, but you're having to use your words, and you're having to build trust in order to for this situation to have a happy ending.
You know, and it's you're right. It's a challenge. I love the humanitarian side of this, the empathetic connection that's formed between the officer and the guy. I think it's hilarious. Excuse me. That you see these bridges that have, and if you look at the video, you can see this fence,
Yeah.
and the fence is, curves over to keep people from climbing, and the guy's actually sitting on top of the curve. Like, not only did the fence not do any good, gave him a place to be comfortable. Um, I'm glad that they made this connection. Kudos to the officer for that. Like I said, that empathetic connection that was made and being able to save this life and talk him down. We, like the officer said, we have all been through something. There's always a way to relate. Keep that compassion about you while you're out there doing the job. Don't just be the cold-blooded enforcer. We are not RoboCop. Um, it's hard to articulate the value of saving the life, number one, showing that kind of compassion, number two, and what this can mean to the community. I wish
Hmm.
this was on every major network. It's great that we have it on Officer, but I wish it was on every major network so that the community at large in the United States and the world could see what law enforcement's capable of on the humanitarian side of the job.
And these situations aren't rare either, and
No.
and that's, I mean, they're, we're spotlighting one officer, but yeah, there I've probably we probably run others of in different areas where in similar situations, and these officers putting themselves out there in the sense of opening up and trying to establish that trust and showing that compassion, and it's really
Yep.
great to see.
Yep.
Moving on to our next story, and again, keeping with that theme of compassion, this is out of Georgia, where a Newton County Sheriff's deputy and a Covington police officer had been on another call when they encountered a couple who were homeless and had two dogs. And as they were talking to them, they knew that severe weather was coming in. This deputy and officer, out of their own pocket, ended up getting a hotel room for the couple, and not only that, found dog food for their animals. Uh, Again, I can't. I'm such a softie, but this gets me, and I can't say enough about just taking that minute to, number one, talk, connect with these people, and then out of their own. This isn't a job related thing. This is out of their own sense of doing right, or compassion, that they did this. This is out of their own pocket. I just love to see that.
So 100%, I'm with you. I love the sheriff's statement where he says their compassion and willingness to go above and beyond are a true
Mhm.
reflection of what it means to serve with heart. And that's when we start talking about the compassion. And I love that it was a deputy and a police officer.
Mhm.
Two different agencies. These guys obviously work in the same area, work together, whatever it is. Yeah, they know the bad weather's coming. They know this family's two dogs gonna be stuck out in it. They get them a room. They make sure the pets are taken care of. And quite often we don't realize that if you have somebody who's homeless and they've got a pet or they've adopted a pet or there's just a dog following them around, if they barely have enough to feed themselves, what are the pets being fed? Everybody's salvaging for scraps. I love seeing that they took care of the dogs too. It wasn't just about the
Yeah.
human beings; it was about all the lives involved.
Moving on to our next story. This is out of Wisconsin, and It's just again talking about connecting with the community. A 4-year-old boy ended up calling 911, upset about his mom, who apparently ate ice cream that she shouldn't have. Um,
Where she
office,
eat his ice cream?
you know, I don't know. She bought it. She probably thought she was entitled to it, but Mount Pleasant Police responded to this frozen treat felon, as I coined it. And it, it's such it's a nice encounter. It's a way of in some cases possibly making it a teaching moment of having the 4-year-old know when it's appropriate to call 911 and when it's not.
Yeah.
But also that this ended with the following day. Officers came and brought some ice cream, so the 4-year-old didn't have to go without for too long.
I love how this was written. Some guy named Joe Vince, apparently. Um, the charming call about a confection crime. Confection crime. That's new. Never heard that before. And a Mr. Misty Meaner. What
Oh,
is Mr. Misty? Is that an
oh,
ice cream brand
that's
or?
a Dairy Queen. Yeah, Mr. Misty is a Dairy Queen treat. More of like a slushy type of drink, but yeah,
Interesting, interesting. I
it's
love how they. I love number one that this kid, 4 years old. I'm gonna call 911. Mom stole my ice cream. Mom ate my ice cream. That's kind of hilarious because it's so sweet and innocent, right? But then, my mommy is being bad. Come and get my mommy.
yeah.
You know what I love about this? It's complete turnabout and fair play. The number of parents, moms and dads both, that I have seen or heard correct their kids or threaten their kids actually with the police. 3-year-old kid, if you don't behave, I'm going to have that police officer take you away. If you don't behave, I'm going to have that police. If you don't eat all your food, whatever. To have the 4-year-old call 911 on the mom for eating his ice cream. How's it feel, mom? Anyway, yeah, and then to go back the next day with the frozen treat, that's pretty cool. I really like it. Interesting story, very heartwarming, very touching. Hopefully, it brings the mom and the son closer to a little bit together and they learn how to share the ice cream.
Exactly.
Well written, Mr. Vince. Well
Oh,
written.
all right. Do we have time for one more? Got
Yeah, let's do this
one more. All
last
right,
one.
real quickie. All right, this is out of Florida, where Tampa police responded to a vehicle crash where an SUV had overturned, and there was still a man and a boy trapped inside. Um, the body camera footage, you can see them cutting the airbags out and extricating both of the individuals. But what I really loved about this story is the sort of aftermath where the officer tells the boy, you're a champ, bro. And I, as important as it is to get him safely out of that vehicle, to be able to kind of to calm him down and I don't want to say normalize, but to have that sense of making sure that emotionally, mentally he's okay, that he's not freaking out or whatever. Just great, just a great sense by these officers to think of that about the child, of not just saying, hey, we got him out and we're done, let's go on.
I like that the dad, the officers get access to the dad. They cut away the airbags, and the dad says, "Hey, take care of my son first." Um,
Yeah. Yep.
that's all too often in my experience on the street today. Not as common occurrence as we would like to think. So the officers go to the back passenger side door to help out the 7-year-old. Helps the boy climb out. Hey, little guy, can you climb out here? Come on out, buddy. He's talking to the kid, just friendly, calm. Come on, you're a kid. You like climbing, right? Just come on, climb out here. Um, he picks up the boy, takes him to the sidewalk. The man's being helped out by other officers. Once they're out, they have this quick moment of, "Hey, kid, you're the champ. You're a champ, bro."
Mhm.
You're right. The calming down, the interaction, the setting aside how appalled we are at an accident where people could have died. And here we just got them out and everybody seems to be okay, then we don't need to be freaking about this
Hmm.
anymore. We need to
Yeah,
have our average everyday on the street interaction. And I love how they calm that back down.
great stuff. Well, that wraps it up. As always, thanks for listening. Like we said, this is kind of a special episode, looking at it, spotlighting these displays of valor. But as a reminder, too, we have coming down to the deadline for our Valor Awards to nominate an officer you feel should be spotlighted for actions that maybe go above and beyond the call of duty. Go to Officer.com. Subscribe to the newsletter, check it out. Over the holiday weekend too, you'll be seeing links to where you can nominate. So definitely something to do.
Yeah. And so if you go to officer.com, and I hate the term, but it's what everybody calls it, the hamburger menu, the three little lines just to the left of the officer.com logo. If you click on that and you scroll down under resources, you'll see a link for the Valor Awards. Fill out somebody who, I mean, we just talked about these officers, and every one of them, as far as I'm concerned, would have been eligible for the nomination, right? They all did something
Absolutely.
that was very compassionate, humanitarian, heroic, whatever. If you've got your local cop, and it could be something as simple as there was a breaking and entering in an elderly woman's house, and the officer went by and spent a few hours helping her replace or repair the door lock, or helping her learn how to make the house harder to break into. Um, it can be the deputy that saw somebody coming home from the grocery store, and it's the mom, and she's got three kids, and she's trying to carry groceries, and the deputy stops and gives her a hand. It can be the simplest thing in the world. It means a lot. So nominate those officers, nominate those deputies, and let's get some recognition for them. Joe, thank you very much
Yes.
for hosting as always, and great job putting this together.
Thank you. And I hope you have a good, enjoyable 4th of July. And same goes for everyone else. Please, everyone, stay safe out there,
100%.
especially if you have to work. So,
Indeed. Heat injuries are a thing. Crazy drunks at barbecues are a thing. Drunk drivers are a thing. Drunk boaters are a thing. Stay safe, everybody.